Hi, I'm Joe Finsternis, and tonight I'm going to talk to you about a movie called Dead Birds. So, this movie takes place during the Civil War in America, and it follows a group of outlaws who have just robbed a bank, and they need a place to hide out, so they go to this old abandoned farm to spend the night, and then strange, spooky things start to happen. Now, the first half of this film is pretty much all build-up, and that would be perfectly okay with me if the characters that I was following in the movie were interesting. I mean, I hate to draw comparisons, but it wasn't as bad as Almost Human. There was no point where anyone made like an awful decision or, said something completely idiotic. That would have been interesting. It's just that there was no real meat to their personalities, and there was no one that I could really relate to in the film. They were all just bland guy number one, bland guy number two, and so on and so forth. And there are a couple of moments early on where the film tries to get a scare out of the audience and just does a bad job at it. There's one point where the camera slowly zooms in on this scarecrow, and the woman in this group says, "That looks like a man." Wow, I wonder if this scarecrow really is a man. I guess he might play a bigger part later on. Spoiler alert, yeah, and yeah. There's another point where somebody steps on a dead bird, which I guess is where the title of this movie comes from, because outside of that one isolated moment, the film has nothing to do with birds. But, when he does this, the camera starts slowly zooming in on that bird, and it holds the shot for about 10 or 15 seconds straight. And it is kind of a creepy looking bird, like there are feathers missing from its head. One of its feet kind of looked weird. I don't know a whole lot about bird anatomy, but it had this foot that almost looked like a weird sort of hand. And as the camera's zooming in, there's like this creepy music building up, plus everything on the screen starts turning red, and it really doesn't amount to anything important. I mean, personally, I think that a better way to do that shot would have been to maybe zoom in on the bird for 2 or 3 seconds and then cut away to something else without any music and without any red lens. And then, the audience would just be sitting there thinking, what the fuck did I just see? That was scary. But instead, they just had to exploit the fuck out of this bird. Anyway, things do start building up during the second half. There are a lot more scares coming at you, but a lot of them are just really cheap jump scares, and they use a lot of freakish images just for the sake of it. Although I will admit that, to this movie's credit, it does have a lot of creepy-ass visuals. And while a lot of them are used for the shock value and the jump scares, there were a few times where things were done just right in the movie, and there were 3 key scenes in it that genuinely scared me. It was as if the film was being made by 2 different filmmakers. One that definitely stands out to me is near the end of the film. The scarecrow does play a bigger role. There was a scene with him that was genuinely terrifying, but, spending time with these really fucking boring people in the meantime and waiting through all these really bad scares to get to the good ones just doesn't make the experience worth it. It's not exactly one of the worst horror films I've seen. I guess that if you're a hardcore fan of supernatural horror, then you might enjoy it, but there are better options out there. Hopefully, the next film I review this month will be an example. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Dead Birds. I hope you all have a good one.